Well, hello everybody again. This is Chris May of Australia. I'm just waiting for my co-commentator Jesse Matthews of Canada to join me in the booth, but we are all about to watch Game 31 on Board 1 of the 2016 Causeway Challenge. This is going to be a match between Nigel Richards, the most decorated Scrabble player in history, and David Eldar of Australia, who is the number 2 seed in this tournament and an extremely strong player, winning the Collins division of the American Championships in decisive fashion this year. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you've been enjoying the coverage. Those of you who've been following it, it's been great to have your comments in the chat. Do keep them coming. We're not using any play-finding software here in the booth, so we're very likely to miss plays, especially me, because I haven't played for years. And Nigel here kicks off with NAP. Looks like a decent choice from his opening rack. And Dave has the early blank, and looks like some fairly basic bingo options for him. Aviating and things like that play, and there's also slightly fancier choices like Ignatia, which is what he has opted for. Leaving a little bit of counterplay there with the H1 to H4 line, as well as that A next to the J10 triple. But probably felt he couldn't turn down the points, I would think. For those of you who were watching last game, the Nigel Richards Mark Nyman encounter, I did get a chance to ask Nigel about his play of AUS, and his response was fairly anodyne, as is typical for Nigel. He doesn't give much away. He just said, well, I didn't find any good plays that opened lines, and I didn't want to close any existing lines, and I thought I was going to get an E. And I mentioned that there were 5 unseen eyes to him, and he just laughed. So there you go, make of that what you will. And look here, beautiful, beautiful post-bingo draw for David Eldar. Picks up in snare and insane straight out of the bag. So Nigel plays boom, taking the points, no surprises there. But it's going to be back-to-back opening bingos for Dave, giving him a really, really nice early lead over Nigel Richards here in this round 31 game. Dream start for Dave, and Jesse Matthews has made his way into the booth. Hi Jesse, what do you make of this?
Hello. I'm just getting caught up looking at the scores. It looks like David must have played Ignatia early.
That's correct, and he's picked up insane straight out of the bag.
Wow, that's really that's nice for him.
It certainly is.
I was just doing a quick interview over with Teresa Tang, that is Michael Tang's, I believe, did he say cousin? I cannot remember.
I'm not sure.
But she works for a TV network here in Southeast Asia. Actually, she used to live in Vancouver and worked for the CBC, which is one of our major broadcasters. So a bit of a feel-at-home moment for me, since she is from Vancouver and I am from Kelowna, a city that's just a 4-hour drive away. So here about halfway around the world, a little bit of bonding between 2 West Coast Canadians.
Nice.
But yeah, finished some interview time, and now back to provide coverage in this game for you. Looks like Nigel has Oxlands.
Oxlands, yeah. So there's going to be possibly there'll be a bingo exchange here. Although I think Nigel's only got the one spot for Oxlands, and that may well get taken. In which case it'll be very, very strongly in favour of Dave. Will it get taken? I'm not sure. Dave's best plays may well be Insane and Ensnare horizontally, and that will give Oxlands back. So with 2 random racks, it will be advantaging Dave, but not strongly.
Yeah.
He'll get first go at that open 9-time rally. Well, that's about his only advantage in the position.
Orlet, I just read your comments in there. Thank you for your feedback and for following along. It's nice to have all of you following at various hours of the morning or evening and providing your input on these games. Makes it easier for us when we've got interaction going on, so thank you for your role.
Yeah.
Aaron, it's also nice to see you here. I know you've mostly retired from playing in any way, but you still show your face on Aerolith and actively dominate the tables there when you play.
What's his handle on Aerolith?
I'm trying to think offhand. I haven't been on Aerolith in about 2 months, so I'm forgetting. But yeah, I definitely If I could think of it right now, I'd see him on there for sure. Aaron, help me out. What do you usually use? Physics. There we go. Yeah.
Cool. I assume that's a TWL only handle. I don't think I've seen physics around on the CSW quizzes, but then I don't go on much myself.
Aaron usually does the higher ones, so like 8s and all that, not usually lower.
But the 12s and 13s.
Yeah. So Fervent is here, as Lewis says, as a double-double.
And then Nigel has a nice play of gouache if he chooses to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Or gaucho would be a little bit more balanced in the lead.
Lewis, by the way, I've never known, for your last name, is it McKay or Mackay? Because I've heard people say both, and I like to make sure I say names particularly properly. So
yeah, I don't know that either, so good question. So taking stock, I think Nigel's placement of ox lines must have been the highest scoring option given the axe got triples. That's my guess. And so he's brought himself within 4 points, so it's actually pretty much an even game, as we say with 2 random racks. Mackay.
There we go, Mackay. Alright, we'll make sure that we refer to it as that in the future, and I'll make sure in person that I don't say McKay.
Well, that's what the Australian town is called, so I should be able to remember it. And that's how it's pronounced.
There you go.
Mackay.
Good morning to Susan. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here.
So we think we're going to see a play of Fervent here from Dave.
And then probably gouache from Nigel.
Yeah, very likely. So very accurate play here, as we'd expect from these two top players, the top 2 rated players in the field, finally playing off against each other on table 1.
Yeah, it's taken a number of rounds, and that just speaks to the strength of this field.
Yep.
But then also to their credit, despite the strength of the field, they have risen to the top.
Yeah, well, David's actually had a pretty nice draw because mostly Nigel has been being absorbed by Mark and Jesse, and Dave's managed to avoid him, relatively speaking, compared to those two.
Mm-hmm.
So he's had the more friendly draw out of the top group so far, but that, of course, may well change, given that he's now right at the top of the field and there's lots of King of the Hills still to come.
Some suggestion that chop, I think, I don't know how to pronounce it there, is better than gouache. Looks like Nigel has decided that it is better as well.
Yeah, pure scoring power there, giving AA. With this kind of board, your inbound sleeve, not that much of a concern. There's consonants floating all over the place that absorb excess vowels nicely.
With an N, he would have penumbra,
Nice.
but the N is just one spot too low in insaner. And as Rick Kennedy points out, Eldar has aerolary through the R in insaner.
Nice find.
That is a nice find indeed. Welcome to Rick as well.
I'll be interested to see how quickly this goes down, or even if it goes down. Kind of word that Dave, if he hasn't been studying systematically, he might have some doubts over. It is indeed a tough bingo here. So, not necessarily a laydown, even for a player of Dave's caliber. Looks like he's got it though.
Hi guys, didn't even have to look it up. Attaboy, Rick. That's what I like to see.
That's what he tells us anyway.
We'll just trust him. The good Lord will judge him swiftly if he is lying.
No mistake from David Eldar. Very, very nice play.
And George, looks like you've gotten your wish. David has found it. Welcome to the stream, George. If I remember correctly, you were one of Dave's poker friends that's watching. In any case, welcome. Nice to have you here. We like to have a mix of people, not just travelers in the room.
So Nigel being forced to play catch-up again. Standard kind of play something like Plum at 8L to balance his rack and open up a bingo line, but let us know if you see something better. Entirely possible that on this kind of board you've got to spend a fair bit of time looking to find your best equity move. Oh, lovely pickup for Dave. Coif for big points available. So he's looking really good in this encounter.
but I love Scrabble. I'm friends with Rafi Stern too. Well, what a small world. Rafi lives in a part of the world very close to me. He used to be in Washington State, and I am in British Columbia, one state above it. But now he lives in Portland, which is still within striking distance of where I live, but it's a very long drive. Rafi's, of course, a very solid poker player as well.
So Nigel doesn't take too long to make my suggested play of Plum, and I think we'll see Quoif at L1 from Dave in fairly short order. Unless he decides that the 2F position is a little bit better in terms of defence. I'd be slightly surprised if that were the case. And if I'm not mistaken, Nigel's got abrupt.
Ooh, nice play. And that'll have both the B and the K
Well,
doubled, but they would get blocked.
It will get blocked by Quoif in either place.
And there it goes. Yeah. Nice for Eldar. Gets to score really well and take out Nigel's bonus play there in the process.
He'll be really happy with his position right now.
George says, a quick brag attempt almost beat Rafi in the one time you played him at Scrabble. Well done. Rafi is among North America's best players, so that's excellent from you.
Has he ever considered taking up Double Dictionary? Love to play him someday.
Rafi?
Yeah.
He has put some thought into playing Collins. I'm not sure he's completely sold on jumping over yet, but he has definitely given it some thought.
Cool.
He's definitely by far one of the best tacticians and players in North America.
No, it's always great to get those top American players trying their hand in Double Dictionary.
Yes, adorkable has been spotted by the room. That's always been one of my favorite words to use, kind of tongue-in-cheek with people, but then I saw it added to the Scrabble dictionary. It's like, oh wow, there you go. Some validity that this word that I've used rather facetiously has some validity now.
Look at that beautiful move from Nigel.
D-Beak is great.
Absolutely lovely move. And Dave continues to pull the tiles he needs to keep a lot of scoreboard pressure on Nigel. But Nigel's pulled back within 40 points despite the 3 bingos that Dave has had, so he's still very much in this clash, especially with an unseen blank and floating tiles all over the place. Not to mention S lanes, or at least the one big S lane on Chuff. And what do people think? I haven't yet seen a good play for Dave using that K.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. I've seen that there is Akaju through the A and D beak, but I don't think I would play that in David's position.
And you might be tempted to play Quat in the top, taking the 39 and keeping that J and C back for future use with the K. A little bit scary though. So Dave is now faced with the classic choice between moves that have very different flavours in terms of determining the board for the rest of the game. So it's no wonder that what's been a fairly rapid game so far with reasonably straightforward plays, if you see them, is now likely to have a bit of a slower tempo for the next few moves, I think, because board control is about to become very paramount. The sub-bingo leads and a complex board like this, you really need to start thinking hard about how to defend your lead.
So Lewis Mackay has suggested Coquette through the queue to score a fair bit of points.
Oh, that's a nice play.
Pretty hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
I was looking at Juco and Mick and Go, but I think I like Coquette better than that.
I think I'd agree. JA, not at all a bad leave here. Scoring potential.
Yeah, I would say the point strategy is also a very sound strategy. I'd have to agree.
Well, you're going up 90. Nigel just missing out on a work move.
He does have artwork on the next turn, as Puneet Sharma's pointed out. Hello, Puneet. Welcome to the stream. I am assuming that you are watching from the East Coast in the US.
Yeah, artwork's an interesting candidate. I have this idea Nigel might not really like it because it kind of occupies territory that's needed for bingo lines. It interferes with that Chuff's hook as well, and it leaves the A and the O under triples with a J and a Z unseen for Nigel. So I think for those reasons artwork may be an unattractive option for him.
Oh, you were in San Francisco, Puneet. Cool. So it's not impossibly late for you. You can watch a few games with us, perhaps. Oh, you moved 2 weeks ago. Awesome. Well, welcome to the best coast.
West Coast.
Lewis Mackay suggests Nigel might play a work to set up another bonus line. It's also not a bad idea. Coquette saves Joe and Ja at G3.
Yeah, I mean that just bottoms out as the best play on scoring power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really solid outrunning strategy. The K in the 5th place is a bit dangerous, but with a 5-tile turnover, and Dave himself holding the C, which is a real danger tile with that K, I think the risk of the 9-timer is not that high, or indeed any bingo to the K.
Well, it looks like he's ended up going for artwork, and that'll be a nice quick job for David Eldar.
Despite all the reasons I gave against it, Nigel has decided that it's best.
Actually, it's interesting because there's Ja here, or there's also using the blank to play Giats and block the M lane in the process, which is somewhat tempting.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
But he'll be worried about a big Z play at 14F, reaching over to 14B.
The problem is there is a huge Z play doing that in either spot. Artwork, one of the things that it does well is you can do that in both directions. So I think on that basis, you just got to pick a play that scores. And Giats, I'm trying to find reasons not to do it, but right now that jumps out at me as a fairly strong play.
I'm interested that Nigel's not so concerned with the bingo lines and is very concerned with setting up spots for the J and the Z. I would have thought that would have been a big negative for him with a 90-point deficit. But he thinks differently.
With that play, he comes back within 50 points exactly, and a J or Z play would basically put him back at evens. That's probably some of the thought line with that. I don't think I could personally do it, but that's probably what he's doing. I think I'm still liking Giats after looking at it for about a minute now, but I'm still looking for other plays that I could justify over it first.
Personally, I'd love to find something that knocks out both triple letter scores. Or at least neutralizes in some way. And maybe the difficulty of blocking both is a point in favour of artwork. I'm still not sold on it, however. I think if I were Dave, I'd probably take the 100-point lead and keep my blank. And soak up the 14F spot, but I'm very curious to see what he thinks. He's made his move.
Crackler was just in the shot there briefly, fixing something on the computer. I presume it's a problem with the camera angle.
Oh, maybe he hasn't made his move. No, still
got his letters.
Thought I'd seen him play, but my apologies, he has not. And he's again, this is a reasonably difficult play, in that there's divergent strategies that he must choose between. This move has implications well beyond the next 1-2 play.
So Marlon is suggesting playing at 14E, then bingo. On that basis, are you suggesting a G, Marlon? Is that the play that you're giving? Because I see there are 5 E's in the pool, but I'm still not sure I could personally do that.
Well, I'd play G over a G just to keep the vowel. Yeah, the more I look at this, the less I'm convinced that it's worth burning the blank on this turn. I think it's going to come in very handy on this board.
That's fair.
A 100-point leads with a blank. Marlon thinks JA first. I'm going to say that with the pool the way it is, with the case A on the rack and 5 unseen E's, JEE would be my top choice over JA.
Championship player likes G over Ja or Giats, but has Eldar at 98 to 99% win to on all of them, so hard to pick between them.
No, I'm completely on board with championship players ranking there. I think that's exactly my own preference as well. I'm not used to saying that. Nigel needs a double bingo to win, and the board would accept a double bingo very easily, so Dave knows he's not out of the woods, even with a 100-point lead in the blank.
And that's certainly part of why he's taking his time
on
this move.
And he's not in time pressure yet, because many of his moves have been pretty much automatic so far.
He's also possibly doing a heuristic on Nigel holding the Z, perhaps on that previous turn, and then of course picking it up now, because he knows that it's well within Nigel's ability to do something like this.
Dave knows well the effect that artwork had on bingo lines, so he knows Nigel's got heavy letters on his mind. And he knows that a Z play, if you say he plays above the A, he knows that a Z play is actually going to pretty much catch Nigel up.
Yeah.
5 unseen E's, so the E that he'd need, very likely, or very, very possible that he's got it. So what words, I see Zeals as the obvious thing that Nigel could have, but actually not much else. Zeatin, I suppose. So we wait to see.
He's going with Giats to take the maximal points.
No, an interesting play.
Or wait, no, he just played Giats, so he's kept the blank.
Wow. I agree with keeping that blank. And he must have concluded that it was harder for Nigel to reach across to 14B than to reach across between 14J and 14N, and we didn't really make that calculation. But he may well be right about that. The only thing is that a ZES ending bingo from 14B would be absolutely brutal if Nigel happened to hold it. For that reason, I'm not fully convinced that Dave's choice is correct there. But he would certainly have his reasons for having done it.
Lewis Mackay quickly spots Olegemia with the M and plum.
Marlon Hill says, wrong. Well, I hope, Marlon, you're talking about Dave rather than me. But I'll accept your criticism if it's about me.
Winter would play Volition here, yes, changing the V's to W's as he wants to do.
So one suspects that Nigel might continue to play for the Z and leave that spot open. And that's exactly what he's done.
There's a fat chance Eldar is going to leave it open.
And, well, I mean, if he plays Olegemia.
Yeah.
But Olegemia should take him, it'll prevent a double bingo Olegemia by virtue of the pool size, so it should be a straight up win, even if Nigel did have the huge riposte. Eldar would be going up 140. Nigel would be emptying the bag. Actually, let me do the calculation. Well, in a worst case scenario, a ZES bingo. Let's see if we can even find one first. So door rises.
Yeah.
Actually scores almost 160, so it is worth worrying about.
But he just decides to play Olegemia because, after Y, never know. Imagine needing an eye for Toledans. Not open.
So say Nigel had door rises on his rack here. He would score 159 by my count and move to
13-point lead.
Yeah, 13 point or 12. I think a 12-point lead. With Dave to play in a 7-on-4 endgame. Dave might well still be favourite in that. But if Nigel had it and then pulled the blank, gosh,
that would be
something. So I wonder, Oligamia may not have been 100% wins as it looked like it was. And actually, I think that's a function of Dave's play of Giat. Had he played the other one, then Nigel couldn't have both hit the Z hotspot and got the 50 bonus points. So I think more and more convinced that JEE was the correct play there. But it's sort of millimeters. He would have been 98% or something to win with any of those plays.
So David's picked the Z, in fact, so some cheap points for him possibly. Nigel, I wonder though, he has shown us in the past he suddenly switches to defense after playing offensive, so...
Well, he knows he's finished here, and he's probably going to block the Z. There's absolutely no point playing for it now. He might try and get a bingo to go out though by only playing a couple of tiles.
That would mean playing 3.
Trying to play for the ION would be logical.
Something like deletion is among the options in the pool with all those E's.
Very much so. So he might even snap up the Giat's hook or something.
Node.
So he's playing for a bingo. He's not playing for an ION bingo.
He's left the Z spot open, so that's some nice cheap points for Eldar.
So I'm really a bit surprised by that. So Eldar's going to take a spread lead over Nigel now. Quite a decent one, in fact. As this game wraps up, I'm just going to see if I can get a quick printout of current standings, because I don't think the latest ones are up on the website, and we'll be able to look a bit further ahead into the upcoming Table 1 games for the rest of the morning.
So looking at candidate plays for Eldar while Chris goes off to get those standings. There's of course Z in the spot on the bottom of the board. There's also Yez, played to the A in artwork, both scoring a fair bit.
So I've requested the standings from the tournament staff. There have occasionally been hiccups with the tournament hardware here, so we'll wait and see if they manage to get them to us before we end this broadcast. I guess with 1 in the bag, Dave's just permuting, looking at Nigel's bingo options, in fact whether he has any at all, and wondering whether it's best to defend or snap up the points for the Z, and I think he's going to conclude that it's well worth snapping up the points for the Z. There may well be no bingos at all for Nigel from his point of view. I haven't seen one.
There's D lists as a 7, but I don't see any spot for it on the board.
Yeah, likewise divests. No E for devilettes. That's a word, right?
Which?
Devilettes. Can I use this for like a minute? Thank you.
So we're going to have some updated information here for you.
So after going into the current game, we had Mark Nyman alone in the lead on 21 wins, but with a very low margin of 246. He's being trailed on 20 wins by these two players, David and Nigel, both of whom have very healthy margins, the best in the field, 1200 and 1100 respectively. Jesse Day and Harshan and Esther Perrins and Saidu all have 19, 2 games off the pace, and then there's a little bit of a break to the field. A 1.5 game gap back to Dave Wiegand in 17.5 in 8th place, and then quite a few players clustered on 17. So we've now got a leading group of 7 players.
Bit of separation, yeah.
Yeah, and Mark Nyman with a 1 game lead. He's currently involved in a game with Jesse Day, so we'll see how that goes. If Jesse wins it, then it's going to be very, very tight at the top. Thank you, Michael.
We'll see if Michael, our organizer, can give us an update from that game when he has time. So while you were gone, Chris, I was just looking at plays for Eldar. Z was already mentioned, of course, on the A&R board, but there was also Yez as an option.
We're being told that the game between Jesse and Mark is even at the moment.
Level.
Yep.
So anyone's game there. Eldar decides Z, preferable to Yez.
Yeah, I think I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, why not keep the wife here next turn?
Well, this is a near 200-point lead over Nigel. Very impressive win by Eldar.
Well, I mean, he got the letters for it, but he pretty much always had a rack that complemented the board, which is, a dream scenario when you're leading, trying to defend that lead. But yeah, he played it really well. The big question mark play was Giat, and that's an instructive move. Plenty of scope to have different opinions as an expert player on what needed to be done there. And is there any play of Nigel's that we need to look twice at?
He's playing L's.
I think artwork, well, I mean, when we thought about it a bit more, we realised that it did create some headaches for Dave. I'm still not sure that investing so much in heavy letters as the future of the comeback was the optimal strategy. I really liked having that room down in the bottom left to bingo, especially with a healthy S-hook onto Choff.
Yeah.
But Nigel didn't feel that way.
We've got some results which we just read out to you on the air a little bit ago.
Yeah, but if there's another player in the field whose fortunes you are curious about, please shout out and we can let you know exactly where they're standing. Two big beats first up for Nigel Richards today. And as a player who's, he's started to break away a lot of times over the first 3 days, but hasn't done so, and now may find himself as much as 2 games off the pace after this round. So, King of the Hill, it's tough, even for Nigel.
So just to answer the question in the chat regarding Hubert's standing, Hubert is at 16.5 wins in 14th place. His spread is minus 269.
Ouch.
He is playing Andrew Fisher at table 7. Andrew, his opponent, is the lowest of those at 17 wins with a spread of plus 266. And it was Hubert to go first in that game, so just slightly favored to win in that sense, but as far as strength between players goes, very even, so anyone's game, certainly. Hubert has had a pretty tough run of luck from the games that we have seen him play. He's been playing wonderfully, just hasn't been able to catch breaks in a couple of crucial games earlier in this tournament.
He's also being drawn to Dave Wiggad like a magnet because of their draw. Every time they're adjacent in the standings, they're 50-50 shot of playing each other.
Yeah.
And they're adjacent more often than most, of course, because of that half point. So, Dave Eldar, making the most of his time down to his last 50 seconds, trying to play out every point of spread for the end game, and kudos to him for doing that. When you've got 8 more tough games in the day, very, very tempting to just take whatever jumps out, and I'd certainly be tempted to do that and conserve my energy for later games. But he's amped on caffeine, another 3 cups of coffee this morning at breakfast.
Yeah. And yeah, Marlon, I was trying to find reasons to justify Yez, but I liked it. I just didn't have any particular sound logic to defend it. So curious as to, on your end, what concrete reasons are there for Yez? Because I didn't have anything objective to state my support for it.
Might have been something to do with the out in 2 possibilities.
Yeah.
And I'm quite curious about whether Dave outright missed that outplay of Divot, or whether Yo was the highest scoring player. I would have thought Snai and Chuffs looks like it's a bit of a higher turnaround than Yo, but what do I know?
So for easier outplay, Marlon confirms that's why he prefers Yez. Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that.
So this game is over, and a big win for David Eldar. So this tournament is all up in the air.
That's what we like to see.
And we will look forward to you guys joining us and continuing your active chat for the next round. We're not completely sure what the pairing will be. It will certainly involve Mark Nyman if it's a lagged pairing, because he was a game clear of the field, and therefore there's a possibility of a Nyman-Eldar clash. I think it will be two of those three players that we've already seen in action already today, one way or another.
Yeah, we'd have to agree, Marlon. Well drawn and well played.
Yep.
So we're just going to take a quick break here. 10:20 local time here this morning, 10:21 now. So we'll be back in just less than 10 minutes to bring you the next round of coverage. Until then, Jesse and Chris signing off. We'll be back very soon.